Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. This is Allie's Vintage Camera Allie. I'm Allie. In case you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, please take a second to hit that subscribe button because it helps me out a lot and it lets me know that you guys want me to continue to make this content. So today I want to talk about my favorite subject, which is the Nikon F, more specifically the lens that's on my Nikon right now. That is the Nikkor 55mm f3.5 macro lens, and I'm going to talk about why it's a great lens, so stick around. So this is the Micro Nikkor 55mm f3.5 lens. It is an earlier version. As you can see, it's got the chrome nose on it, the chrome filter ring. But I want to get into why they call it micro instead of macro. Nikon originally used the word micro with the 55mm rangefinder lens that they had, and somehow it just continued over into the SLR lenses, and they continued to use the word micro for their macro lenses. I don't know if they still do today, but I know they continued to use it for the F-mount lenses. But it can be a little confusing because this is a macro lens. The word micro means small, where the word macro means large. So micro would be with like a microscope where you're looking at something very small and magnifying it. Whereas a macro lens takes an object and takes a picture of it that makes the object then look life-size or more. So the word is a little bit of a misnomer, but Nikon continued to use it anyway. So let's talk a little bit about this lens. So my version was created in 1963, but the first close focus lens for the Nikon F system was made in 1961. It was the 5.5 centimeter f3.5 lens. And that one didn't have an automatic diaphragm, whereas this one does. This is a later version. There had been several revisions to this lens before it got to this version in 1963. This specific version is, I think it's the compensating version, meaning the closer you get to the subject, the closer you start focusing. You see how that's starting to come out almost like a zoom lens? So less light is getting to the film, but this lens somehow compensates for that lack of light automatically. I don't know the ins and outs of how this lens works specifically, so I'm not even going to get into that, but it is the compensating version. So this lens can be focused from infinity all the way down to 9.5 inches, and because it does compensate, it does work well at all distances, making it almost like a prime lens. You could take regular compositions as well as macro photos. Now you do need an extension tube, an M-type extension tube for the lens, which I don't have, but that will make it full macro and will produce a 1-to-1 ratio, which is life size. I think without the extension tube, it only produces 1-to-2 ratio, which is half life size. But as you'll see from my photos, that doesn't really make a difference. It still focuses pretty close, even without the extension tube. And I'm pretty sure that even with the bellows attachment that you can get, you can probably focus even closer. The aperture closes down all the way down to 32 when it's not coupled to a photomic meter. See, I don't have a photomic meter on right now. I just have the regular prism. So right now I can close my lens all the way down to f32. But if it were connected to a photomic meter, those only are able to couple up to 22. It opens all the way up to 3.5. Mine is a pre-AI lens. I don't know if you can see that. You see those rabbit ears? That fork here? That tells you that it is a pre-AI lens. It's before the automatic indexing started. Later on, you would have a fork with holes in it and then a notch on the lens, on the back of the lens, that would tell you it was AI or AIS. And then after that, they did away with the fork altogether. But this is made so that your photomic meter, the little prong that hangs down from the meter, can go in between there, and you would do your little Nikon shimmy there. That would manually index the capacity of your lens, the apertures of your lens, and couple it with the meter. It is a very light lens. It's only 8 ounces, and it has a very interesting look with that really deep recessed helicoid in there. It goes pretty deep. The aperture ring has a nice click to it, a nice click with each aperture, and the classic knurled focusing ring here is smooth. It does have a long throw, but that's never really bothered me. So now I want to talk about my experience with this lens. It's probably one of my most used lenses that I use with my Nikon F, and that's mostly because I like to take pictures around the house, and a macro lens is perfect for that. If you're stuck in the house or if you're bored, macro photography is a great option to find things around the house and get some really nice pictures. Personally for me, and if you follow me on Instagram or anywhere, you'll know that I tend to really love doing still life photos, and I found that it was pretty nice for still life photos as well. So let's look at some of my examples that I took with this lens. So the film, just for reference, the film that I used here was Fuji Superia Extra 400. One of my favorite films, my favorite color films. And this photo, my hand holding this little bouquet of little flowers, demonstrates the beautiful depth of field that this lens gives. There's no large artifacts and no vignetting that I've experienced. And when it's wide open, there's a sharp center and everything around it pretty much fades out. The depth of field is almost a circle, and I believe the wider open you get, the more that focus gets a little bit off-center, but otherwise it's still got a beautiful depth of field. And this example here with the journal, you can see that it's not just a macro lens, that you can take a regular photo with it. And here's a photo of a flower up close. You can see there's detail in the middle of the flower. You can see all the little textures to the flower that the lens picked up. It gives the subject a lot of contrast and makes colors pretty rich. I don't know if that's because of the coating on the lens, but it does give your photos contrast. You can see here with this picture of the flowers, the colors are popping and there's a lot of contrast in the photo. Now we'll get to some close-ups. Here's a close-up of a yellow flower, and even though I don't have the M extension tube, you can see I still was able to get a lot of detail close up. To show you what I'm talking about, here is a photo of the flower zoomed out, a little bit zoomed out, so you can see just how close that photo was. But it really does work as a prime lens, so to speak, as a normal lens and as a macro lens. That's why this lens, I think, is so great. But look at the colors. Like I specifically love the colors of these next three photos. The tone and the richness of the colors and the contrast, everything. I love the feel of it. The circular depth of field creates like a circle around the subject and really makes it pop while softening the surrounding of the subject, which also helps to make the subject stand out, and I think that's really nice. I took photos of these same flowers using my Fuji X-T4, which I'm filming this video with, but if you want to see, compare what those look like compared to these, you can go to my blog, my website, and see the photos that I took with the digital camera of the same flowers and see the difference between digital and this lens. Personally, I much prefer these photos over digital, but yeah, I mean, I think this lens, I love this lens, plain and simple. I think I'm gonna have to search for an M extension tube so that I can really see what it does. I love all the results I got with the flowers. I'm definitely gonna do this again. So that's it. That's all I gotta say about the Micro Nikkor 55mm f3.5. Let me know, do you shoot macro photography? If you do, what lens do you use? And if you're interested in getting one of these lenses, I'll leave a link in the description of where you can buy one. But yeah, I just had to share that with you guys because it's a lens that I really enjoy. If you have enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up because that lets me know. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about anything. I always try to answer every question I get in the comments. So until next time, stay motivated and keep shooting.